All right, everyone. Welcome to the political science orientation for the School of Social Sciences. My name is Carter Chung. I'm here today to moderate on behalf of the Dean's Ambassador Council. The Dean's Ambassador Council is a leadership council within the School of Social Sciences, and we host academic and social events to help bridge the bond between students, professors, and faculty. You'll see us host a bunch of events throughout this upcoming year. So please come out and have a good time with us. Today, I'd like to introduce our department to you. We have our department manager, Claudia Chefs, our undergraduate director, Professor Martin Wattenberg, our department chair, Simone Chambers, our academic counselor, Kurt Hessender, and I believe I will pass it off to Professor Wattenberg, if you'd like to get started.
Well, actually, the department chair usually speaks first if she's here.
Oh.
Hi, Marty. We're trying to find the link. So if you can start, she will join in a second.
Okay. All right. So it's my pleasure to welcome you all to political science, or considering political science as a major or a minor. So I've been undergraduate director for a few years. I've done this a few times before. And the first thing I usually say is, welcome, you are our constituents. You know, we are all, let's let Professor Chambers, that, you know, we're political people, and politicians, you know, always think about their constituents. And in a university, you know, majors are everything for a department. You are our constituents, and we're here to help you. And we're very happy to have as many of you as we can, because, you know, we get to talk about what we really enjoy with you and share our knowledge. And the more of you that there are, the more colleagues that we can have, and the more that our department can grow. So that would be a great thing. So to talk about the role of teaching in the department quickly, I usually start out very early and say, our department has a long, long tradition of teaching excellence. And, you know, at a research university, frankly, that's a bit unusual. And to give you an example of this, since 1988, there's been an award that's been issued only to one person per year, called the UCI Distinguished Teaching Award. And out of over 1,000 professors at the university, only one gets it every year. There's only one department that I know of that's ever had more than one winner. And we've had five in 34 years. Of those five people that have won that award, 4 will be teaching this year. And you can take their courses. And I think we're going to have more coming, because since we have a department that really values teaching, we tend to hire people who are great teachers. And I can tell you, of those 5 people who won this award, I was on the search committee that helped hire 2 of them. And both times I saw their job talks and I go, this person would make a great teacher. And I was right about both of them. They both ended up winning the Distinguished Teaching Award years later. Okay, so how to do well in classes is the next thing that I talk about briefly. I know it's, you know, even without the pandemic, new students are always sort of nervous about going to college. It's a big step, right? And how am I going to do? And what I always say to parents who ask me, it's like, how does my kid do well in college? You know, it's really not that hard. Everybody who's here is pretty well qualified. But in order to do well, the advice I give is, 1, show up all the time. It's your job. And first week, you'll see most people show up, but you'll see that it will taper off. That's just the way UCI is. You want to be at the top of the class or near the top of the class, show up all the time. Second is, look at the syllabus. Do what the syllabus asks you to do. Pay attention in class. Do all the readings. Pay attention to the readings. If you do that, frankly, you're a bit unusual, and you'll do well. So it's really not all that hard. There are no secrets. in these classes. You have everything written down, tells you what to do. And one of the big challenges of college is, my daughter's in high school right now, and I see how they hover over all the time. And I try to tell my wife, you can't hover all the time. The teachers can't be doing that. It's like, because when they get to college, they're on their own. And so if you're motivated, if you're diligent, if you're reliable, do what you're supposed to do, you'll do well. So in that sense, relax. But don't relax too much in the UC system, at least in the quarter system. So you may have heard from friends, relatives, like, oh, first couple of weeks of college are a blast. You don't have to do anything. Well, that may be true on the semester system, which most colleges are on, but we're on the quarter system. And the quarter system is a sprint, 10 weeks to the finish line. Do you learn stuff the first week in the very first lecture in a lot of classes? Absolutely. Do you have readings the first week? Absolutely. Don't get behind. It's so easy to get behind. Exams start coming up before you know it, especially in the Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. Sometimes you have exams in the third week. And so it's different. It really is a sprint. Okay, so with that, let me see if our chair wants to say something before I talk about the areas of study. Professor Chambers, I see you on.
Okay, yes, welcome. Apologies, I lost the Zoom link. I have like 5 different Zoom links today, and this one got messed up in my email. So welcome. I am the chair of the political science department. I'm very excited to be here as the chair, but I'm super excited to actually be back in the classroom. I'm going to be teaching undergraduate class starting this week. And I think actually everybody is very excited to be back in the classroom. I know some of the classes, particularly for freshmen, will still be online in this quarter, but we're hoping it's all going to be ramped up very soon. And that we will be back in person for all the classes. And I just wanted to actually echo what Professor Wattenberg said about, the faculty members here all chose to do a PhD in political science, and they chose to do a PhD in political science because they fell in love with political science as undergraduates. They just, and what most of the faculty want to do is to kind of communicate that kind of enthusiasm that they had as an undergraduate when they fell in love and decided to make their career political science. We're all committed to the field and the discipline of political science, and we really want to make you all to be committed to this field. So we're out there to do our best. And then finally, my door is open. Not literally, but figuratively. The rules of the university right now say my door must be closed if I take off my mask. But I am behind that door, and please come and knock if you want to come and talk. This quarter, it'll be talking with masks, but maybe not next quarter. That I do want to meet as many of our majors as possible and be as helpful as possible. So with that, I will, and I do want to actually just make one little announcement, and I'm going to put it in the chat. I am also the faculty sponsor for a new club. The political science has sponsored a speech and debate club, which will right now have probably internal tournaments where the faculty will be the tournament judges. It is open to everybody. We are encouraged people. There will be kind of meetings every week or maybe every 2 weeks and a tournament at the end of every quarter. And after I stop speaking, I am going to put the name of the student organizer and his email in the chat. And please contact him if you are interested in joining our new club. This is going to be the inaugural year of the Political Science Speech and Debate Club / team. Okay, with that, I pass it back over to Professor Wattenberg.
Okay, thanks. So let's talk about the kinds of courses in political science. So I'm now screen sharing. Hopefully everybody sees this. It says they can. So areas of study, and so if you look at WebSoc, which you should do regularly as you're trying to register for new classes or change your classes. And one tip is if you tried to sign up for a class recently and it was full, you can probably go back in now because some people got dropped, which is what always happens around just before the start of the term, is some people get dropped for lack of paying fees. So for instance, one of our most popular classes in American politics, the American presidency class, was full at 150, had a waiting list. Now it's got 139, so you could get into that. And so if you look at WebSoc and see what courses are available, this is the way it goes. Is we have 5 major fields of study: the American politics, comparative politics, international relations, political theory, and law. So I'll go down the list just quickly to give you a sense. So American politics, you should all have a pretty good sense of that, what that is. You know, it's like, so things like the presidency, Congress, elections and voting behavior, public opinion, political parties, interest groups, so forth. And a lot of you have already taken the AP class in American government. I teach the Intro to American Government course. One of my disappointments is I don't see very many majors in that class, and I assume a big reason for that is AP credits. But I can tell you, having had students that have taken the AP class and actually used the textbook that I co-authored in high school, and then they take the class with me and they say, you know, this is really different. I'm learning a lot more stuff. It's a lot more intense, you know, and you leave us to read the book, you know. In high school, they just read the book and go over the book in very, very detail. Yeah. In the big intro class at college level, you talk about what you want to talk about and say, read the book. It's very different. So I can tell you that political science majors who take Intro to American, even if they've taken it in AP in high school, do very well, and they learn a lot. So I do recommend it. So that's Political Science 21A and the 120 courses. Then we have how governments compare around the world, and the study sometimes of just particular countries. So that's known as comparative politics or politics around the world. And the intro class there is 51A. Some of you have actually there's an AP class that matches that you can get credit for. If you had either a 4 or a 5 in AP American or AP comparative, then you can just transfer that over to 21A or 51A. Has to be a 4 or a 5. So today, just thinking about current events, today's election day in Canada. You know, and if you were interested in Canadian politics or just how parliamentary systems work, you're taking a comparative politics class, you could ask your professor, what do you think's going on in Canada? How is it different there? You know, what are the structures? How is this parliamentary election different from a presidential election? So, you know, those are the sort of things that you would talk about in comparative classes or comparative. One of the classes that we teach is violence in politics, which is under a comparative, and you see political violence in various countries around the world and how it compares. So that would be the 150 courses. Then politics between countries, relations between countries, international relations, I have as third here. So in the news right now, France is very upset with the United States because we and Great Britain made a deal to sell nuclear technology to Australia. And so for the first time in my memory, maybe ever, France withdrew their ambassador to the United States. And what are the implications for this for the NATO alliance and the future of the NATO alliance? Is it changing security relationships around the world? Those are the sort of things that you'd learn about in international relations. So that would be, the intro class would be 41A, and then the upper division courses are 140. Do you have to take 41A to take the 140 courses? No, that comes up every year. Do you have to have the appropriate intro class? We don't like to do much in the way of prerequisites. In political science, we like to be more student friendly and say, you want to take this? You know, it's fine, it's open. but I think most people, faculty would say it's very helpful. For instance, to have a background in comparative politics or international relations before you take the upper division course doesn't mean that you have to, though. Then political theory is basically the fundamental building blocks for everything else, for everything in political science. So, for instance, the recall election that we had just last week in California, and we're still counting the ballots. That's a great example of direct democracy, which is a different view, theoretical view of democracy than representative democracy. And one of our participants here, Simone Chambers, our chair, is one of the country's leading experts on the theory of direct democracy. And so you think about theory as like, oh, what is, differences to make? Well, it makes a big difference in terms of all sorts of things in current events. And we have a lot of people in political theory who teach really interesting courses that are very topical. So for instance, one of the most popular courses right now is Kevin Olson's lower division course on the politics of diversity, something like that. You see, it's being offered right now in a lower division course this fall. And then finally, law is a special carve out that we've put in because it's so popular with our majors, and law is the fundamental basics of so much of politics that we put that separate. And so we have Introduction to Law 71A and some 170 courses. Most of those courses are American politics. We used to have somebody who taught comparative law. Maybe we'll have that again sometime soon. So Kurt Hessinger, basically our counselor in the counseling office who knows most about political science, could answer some questions about what's required, much better than I can. And basically the counseling office can tell you much better than faculty members, what are the requirements, but basically, you have to do 4 lower division courses, and then there's some other requirements. Kurt, you want to say a quick word about requirements?
Sure. Thank you, Marty, for that introduction. So, yeah, I mean, it's very straightforward. That's the one, one of the many great things about political science as a major here at UCI is that it is an easy major to kind of delve right into and kind of take the courses that you want to take. There's not a lot of prerequisite courses, as Professor Wattenberg had indicated. So you do have a lot of room to roam, to kind of explore different modules and different areas in political science. So definitely as you're moving through the courses, there's 5 introductory lower division courses that students take along with 3 courses in a module. You also have 4 additional upper division political science courses outside of a module that you'll be taking as well. In addition to some upper division school of social science courses too, which can also be political science courses, but they can also be other courses within the School of Social Sciences as well. So the one good thing about the major, one of the other good things is that you will have the opportunity to do other things and take other courses in various areas. And so we have many students who study abroad, they do double majors, they do minors, they go to UC DC, UC Center Sacramento program. So it lends itself to a lot of great opportunities outside of just taking classes. And I think that's one of the great things about it is that you're not just going to be inundated with just coursework all of the time. You're going to have the opportunity to explore and expand your horizon. So definitely kind of use our website for advising. I know during the fall quarter, we're all trying to get back in the groove of being in person and things like that. So our office will have many different advising options like live chat. We'll have Zoom appointments. We'll have Zoom workshops with our peer advisors. We'll be available via phone. So a lot of ways to get in contact with us, but the same way that Professor Wattenberg said to show up is like show up to advising as well too. It's like we have 9 of us in the office that can answer all of your questions, and we're just here waiting for you to kind of ask us questions so we can help you out. So definitely use our services. And like I said, I hope as the year goes along, hopefully we'll be seeing each other in person very soon. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kurt. I forgot to stop screen sharing, but So it still worked, I'm sure. And so then I was going to talk about the honors program quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on that because only about 10% of our majors do it, so it's not applicable to the majority. But for those who meet the GPA requirements and other requirements, it is a good opportunity to spend some of your senior year working in in a great deal of focus and for multiple quarters on one big project, which becomes your honors thesis. Right? And especially if you're thinking of going to graduate school, whether it be in political science or in international studies or in sociology or whatever you might, or economics or whatever you might go on to, or even just going to MBA maybe, or law school for sure, that pursuing the honors program can be a really good thing. It's a good experience for the people who do it, who make it through. And so you register first for 182A, which is the honors workshop, and then after that, the 190 courses, you work with an individual professor. And so one key piece of advice on that is anybody's interested in this, and this is generally applicable to everybody, is get to know people, talk to people. You need to find, and more specifically for honors program, is you need a mentor. And so every year I encounter students who say, I want to sign up for honors program, I'm qualified, I don't know anybody. Well, that's a problem if you don't know anybody. They never talk to a faculty member. It's like, well, you need somebody to work with you, and so getting back to something that Professor Chambers said is, this is our passion, those of us, who are faculty members in this. Then we don't actually have that much responsibility for teaching. It's a dirty little secret, but there's a reason for it. This is a research university. And we're supposed to share our research. We're supposed to share our research with you, but we're also supposed to share our research with the broader community, the whole world. And so our standard teaching load is 120 hours of contact with students. So that's 4 classes. Okay. And one of those is usually a graduate class. So for undergraduates, we're meeting with undergraduates for 90 hours for the entire year. So every time we're in there for an hour, that's a big deal for us. And we spend a lot of time preparing for it. And if you come up and ask one of us about something we've said or something that's related to the class, unless there's something really pressing we got to go to, yeah, of course we want to talk to you, or, you read an article in the newspaper. If somebody says to me, I read an article in the newspaper, I go, wow, you read a newspaper? Great. That's really good for political science. You should be reading the newspaper. You should be reading the New York Times and the Washington Post all the time, which you can get, through the campus server. So if you're on campus, no problem. If you're off campus, you just need the VPN and you don't have to pay for the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal. And in the Washington Post, there's this blog called the Monkey Cage blog. And the Monkey Cage blog presents research about political science almost pretty much every Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Weekends, they don't post things. And you'll see the most recent research. And if you read some of that, you could ask your professors, like, what do you think of this? And then another thing that's come up in these sessions before is like, well, what can I ask faculty about? And I go, how about asking them about their research? Really? It's like, and then students ask, well, how do I know who's doing research? And the answer to that is, if they're regular faculty, then everybody. That's what we do. We spend a lot more time on research than anything else. And you ask people about their research, they'll talk your head off. And so that would be the negative. It's like, okay, I got to go to class. Excuse yourself. Or what I'd love to see sometimes, I guess I have seen a few times over the years, is people say, I read one of your articles, or I read part of your book. I looked up your book on Amazon and I read the first the introductory chapter. And it's like, I don't want to ask you about something. It's like, yeah, show some interest in what we're doing, and we'll show a lot of interest in you, I think. Okay, beyond that, opportunities beyond regular classes. I want to just mention a few things that you should be aware of, which are getting started again now, finally, is UCDC. It's my favorite. Is the program to go to Washington, D.C., and stay at the UC Center in downtown Washington and do an internship and take a couple classes and get regular credit for that. And so we have a great program for that. We share that with the other UC campuses, and you'll meet people from all the other campuses that will be there. That will be in the same dorm with you. You can go. My favorite thing to do is to go in fall, winter, or spring, which is easier to get internships. A lot of people go in the summer. DC is full of interns in the summer. If you can only go in the summer, fine. It's still a great experience, but during the regular year is when you can have the best experience, I think. And the classes that they offer there are really exceptional. And you're sharing that with other UC campuses, and they get people who are active practitioners or former practitioners to talk about politics, and there's a lot of opportunities there, and everybody loves that by and large. Then the similar thing in the state capitol at UC Sacramento. The same person, Professor Matt Beckman, runs the political science end of both UC DC and UC Sacramento. And I can also tell you, that I'm sure some of you are thinking, well, can I afford this? Well, Professor Beckman has worked really hard to get a lot of fellowship money for people who need it to go to either DC or Sacramento. And so there are opportunities there. And then study abroad. If you're interested in going to all sorts of places around the world, we have the UC system has relationships with major universities all over the world. You name it. You can usually find, at least in the advanced industrialized world, that UC system has a relationship with some university or other in that country. So that's usually, I think it's exclusively, I could be wrong, fall, winter, or spring thing. Again, any of these things, UCDC, UC Sacramento, study abroad, are potentially sort of life-altering things. So it's like it really opens up students' eyes, and talked to many students who told me that's, it really changed things. And in these sessions before, questions have come up. It's like, well, can I do more than one? Absolutely. If you can find time to get away from campus, or if you do an extra year and do a 5-year degree, sure. Would I recommend doing UCDC and study abroad? Sure, if you're really interested in both of those, absolutely. And then finally, just to reiterate that we do have a new club, the Speech and Debate Club, and that's mentioned in the chat. Okay, so with that, anything else, Kurt or Simone, before we open it up?
No, I would say like all those opportunities are really excellent. In addition to fellowship, I would also getting financial aid from UCI. In a lot of cases, your financial aid packages may include some of those programs, especially if you study abroad as well. So it may not be that you have to pay anything extra or very limited amounts of money. So also check with the financial aid advisors and counselors to see what's funded through that as well too. So try to get all those funding resources as much as you can, so you don't have to worry about the financial end of it.
Good. Okay. At this point, we usually get a lot of questions.
Marty, somebody has their hand up.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Have to unmute. Go ahead, Raj. Rajvi.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a really quick question. So, if you have, enough credits to, let's say, graduate in like 3 years, would it be possible to still take like the senior thesis classes in your 3rd year?
I think people have done that. It's sort of hard. Is
Mm-hmm.
that right, Kurt? Kurt?
Yes, I missed that last question. Could you repeat that?
Can she, if she graduates in 3 years, could she still do senior thesis?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely possible. I mean, obviously it depends on how many units you have coming in and, how much work you're willing to put forth in that 3-year time period.
Mm-hmm.
We have students who have graduated in 3 years and have done an honors thesis in the past. It just, it might be a little bit more compacting units into, the quarters and also taking some summer school here at UCI. But yeah, I don't see there any reason why you couldn't do a thesis in that 3-year time period, as long as you're kind of working with us to make sure you're not overloading yourself on units during that time frame.
Right.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and I can tell you that back when Jerry Brown was governor, there was an agreement between him and the UC system that we would try and get more people out in 3 years. And I was one of the people that worked in, in the UCI towards how do we do a 3-year degree, and is it feasible at UCI in political science? And it's like, yeah, absolutely. It is feasible.
Professor, somebody's asking if the UC DC and UC Sacramento sessions accept freshmen and sophomores, or if it's only usually done by upperclassmen.
I don't know that they have any restrictions on that. Usually I don't hear about freshmen, sophomores for sure.
A lot of the courses that are offered, because when you go to DC, you take courses there. So a lot of the courses are upper division.
Right.
So that's why juniors and seniors tend to go, but there have been sophomores that have gone.
Right. So, a freshman who's, done a fair amount of the political science work already, I could see applying to go sometime in the sophomore year, but, I wouldn't be applying to UCDC for spring quarter of next year if you're a freshman. It's like, it's probably a little soon. Somebody asked, will the speech and debate club be online or in person? Simone, it's in person, right?
Yes, we're in person. We're hoping to have our first meeting. We have so far 30 people who have shown an interest. We are going to get a big room so that there'll be lots of room for space. But yeah, it's going to be in person.
Okay. Can a professor give assignments that are due before Thursday? Before Thursday?
We want to know, did somebody give that?
Huh?
Tell us.
When I teach Intro to American Politics, I often have readings that are due, expected to be done by the first day. But, I'm not going to give you a quiz on it. So, if you get check your Canvas and emails this week, it's possible you might get something saying, read this before the start of class. And I don't know of too many people that do that, but it's possible. It's definitely worth checking.
So I have a question. It's another question about the Speech and Debate Club. So the Speech and Debate Club we have a president who is a political science major, and I have put his name and his email in the chat. And all you need to do is email him, Isa, and he will add your name to the email list. And we're actually in the process of sending out doodle polls to find out when people can come to the first meeting. So as I say, the name and email to sign up for the Speech and Debate Club is in the chat, right at the beginning of the chat, because I put it in at the beginning of this session. So scroll up to the top of the chat. You can also email me. I am the departmental faculty sponsor or advisor. So you can also email me. My email is on all the political science website all over it, and I will get you connected.
Right. So somebody's asking about Canvas. Almost everybody in our department now uses Canvas, but not everybody. And yeah, it should show up if they've created the Canvas site by this point. Kurt, you got any insight into that?
No, that's actually one thing we don't have access to is Canvas. So since they're faculty generated and OIT, so we actually don't have, from what I know I think it's usually when the professors post their information, and it could be at a certain time period, but I'm not sure how quickly students get access to it, but they should have access to it as soon as they enroll in classes, but I don't know what the delay is or not.
Right. So let me just jump in here. So sometimes everybody has a hard time getting their assignments in on time, including professors. So we encourage all professors to post their syllabi and publicize their Canvas as soon as possible. Sometimes that happens right near like the first class. It's also true that we have some people who might be technologically challenged and fail to publish it correctly. So they've set it all up, but they haven't pressed the send button. So we will be getting in touch with all faculty to encourage them to get their syllabi up, to get the Canvas up, and to hit that publish button, which is the most important, which then allows you all access to the important information that you'll need for your courses.
Right. Okay, so thanks. We'll check on that. Put that out to everybody. I know I've waited usually until like the Monday before classes start to publish it. So I would think that they'll start to see them pretty soon. Is it possible to declare a double major as a freshman? I don't see any reason why not. Kurt?
No, there are requirements that have to be met for every major. So if you're able to meet requirements to add that double major, depending on what it is, because every major has a certain set of courses and GPA requirements that have to be met in order to declare that major. But if you're able to do that, in that first year, then yeah, by all means, you can always apply for the major. Now, it depends if the major is inside of the School of Social Science or outside. So if it's outside of the School of Social Sciences, you're going to want to talk to that academic unit in that school as well for more information about their majors. But as long as you're at least meeting the courses and the GPA requirements necessary, then you should have the opportunity to declare that major.
There is another question about the speech and debate club. This is actually, though, a technical question, which I cannot answer yet. That is, I'm not sure what the format will be. I think actually that is part of the discussion for the first session about what kinds of specific speech and debate structures will be used for the tournaments. I will say that we will be recruiting political science faculty as the judges of the tournaments, but that's for the first meeting. Oh, it was a direct message to me, so I didn't need to have to tell everybody. But anyway, maybe other people were interested in the question too.
Okay. So somebody asked, what clubs would you recommend for people who want to get involved in politics in the future? I guess that would be the partisan clubs, the Democratic Club and the Republican Club, which I'm pretty sure we have both. And I remember there was even a collection of Trump-loving students in 2020. In volunteering for campaigns. I know a lot of students, if you like Katie Porter, she has a lot of UCI students volunteering in her campaign, and she may have a really tough time of it in 2022 when they redraw her district. And I'm sure she would love your support in your work if you're inclined, her way. And if you're inclined the other way, I know there's already people running against Katie Porter, and you could go and volunteer for them or contact the Republican Club on campus. So, I guess that's what I would recommend to really get involved in politics. Orange County has become a real hotbed of very hotly contested congressional races right now. So we have, several. We have also the Newport Beach, Huntington Beach district, which is Michelle Steele represents, which is very hotly contested. And then there's David Min, who's also like Katie Porter from UCI Law School, who in 2020 got elected to the California State Senate. And so he probably has a local organization, and he won by a very small amount. So if you're not a Democrat, you wanted to work in state politics on the Republican side. I'm sure there's somebody getting ready to challenge him because some really interesting close districts. And so, for instance, the New York Times just I think yesterday had a big article about nationwide for nationwide distribution about politics in Orange County and how Orange County voted 52% against the recall. And it's really a bellwether area right now with these closely contested districts. So there's lots of opportunities for political involvement there. I don't know anything about perusal. Kurt?
I'm not sure what that is as well.
You know what that is? Okay. It's me. Anybody?
Professor, I can actually help with
Yeah,
that.
can you help with that?
Yes. In perusal, each course that you sign up for will usually have their links in the syllabus or on their Canvas page. So when you get access to it, you should be able to sign up through your course.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Somebody has their Jiangxi. Luke?
Hi, Professor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to ask you a question regarding what opportunity are open for international students who want to practice politics in the future in the States.
In the States?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, what do you mean by practice politics? You mean be a...
let's say just getting a job that involves this specific field of studies in the futures.
Okay. Because I was going to say, well, if you want to run for office, you have to be a citizen.
Yes, sure.
At least under current law. But, and if you want to contribute financially, you have to be a citizen under current law too. But, if you want to just be involved, if you want to be a consultant, if you want to work with local communities. So I assume when you say international student, you have, foreign language skills. And so that's an entryway in, somewhat to work with particular communities. And then there's, a wide variety of possibilities. These days, data science is a big part of political practice. That it's looking at lists and figuring out who's who and using computer algorithms. And so one piece of advice I've given to people over the years is like, if you have any sort of real advanced computing capabilities, programming capabilities, people in politics can use that these days through big data. And learning how to do things like that is also useful in terms of marketing and has other potential besides politics. So anyway, there's a variety of things, and things like UCDC and study abroad and so forth, certainly open to the international students as well. I mean, especially I think UCDC would love to have some more international students.
So international students can also get involved in terms like state governments and committee, like things like that, right?
Sure. And it might be a little harder, or maybe a lot harder, I really don't know, to get internships with elected officials in district offices, but to work for interest groups, for instance, no problem. So for instance, I had a student from China who was working on businesses, which was the business he was working with was local kitchens, small kitchens that were delivering their food, directly to consumers. And they worked to change California law to make this legal, and it was a big lobbying organization, and they founded this lobbying organization. So that was very political, and it was, it was really interesting to hear all the lobbying he was doing, and he was asking me how do you apply this to national law, and I said, well, you really can't. You got to do it to states, and but you could open up this law that was passed in California and get it passed in a variety of other states too. So lots of opportunities, I would say, for international students, and ask some of your professors in classes that you take. It's like, what can you do? And I'm sure there's quite a lot. And there are things. Well, that's enough for that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I say, oh, Patrick says international students will need authorization to work at an internship. Okay. Didn't know that. Good. Okay.
All right, we have about enough time for one more question. All right.
Oops. Well.
All right.
So we have to leave at 3:50?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Simone, you want to have some final words?
All right.
No. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
No, just really enjoy yourself. College is really,
Good.
I wish I could go back to college. Enjoy yourself, come to class, introduce yourself to your professors, do the reading, as Marty said, but really enjoy yourself.
Well, that's why we became professors. We didn't want to leave, right? So it's been a rough last 18 months. As you guys are on here, it seems like nobody's been around for 18 months. I've been in the office a lot, and I really miss you guys. So it'll be good to see so many people going back to classes again soon.
All right.
Okay.
I'd like to thank everyone for logging on today and learning more about the political science department. If you'd like to learn more about a specific area, you can visit our website, which will be sent in a follow-up email to your UCI email address. I also encourage you to reach out to your professors and learn more about their research and their areas of study. And yes, thank you for coming out, and we will be in contact with all of you shortly.